Britain's Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, is adamant that she's done nothing wrong, apart from speeding, that is. Now, the papers have been packed full of speculation that she breached the ministerial code, with claims that she tried to make officials sort her out with a private speed awareness course. Now, we know, you should know, ministers are banned from asking officials to take care of personal issues. So could her career, we wrote this, be about to hit the brakes? Or is this a witch hunt like some of her allies have been telling the papers over the weekend? In Parliament today, Braverman was utterly defiant. Have a listen to the exchange with the Labour Sarah Jones.
In her own case, what exactly did she ask her civil servants to help her with?
Mr. Speaker, hopefully we're not going to be too repetitive today. But as I said earlier, last summer I was speeding. I regret that. I paid the fine and I accepted the points, and at no point did I seek to evade the sanction. But let's be honest about what this is all about, Mr. Speaker. The Shadow Minister would rather distract, really, frankly, from the abject failure by the Labour Party to offer any serious proposals on crime or policing. They want to talk about this because it distracts. It distracts from the fact that they voted against tougher sentences for paedophiles and murderers.
Yeah, now joining me to discuss this in more detail is a good friend of the show. He sat here, former Tory party chairman, Jake Berry. Jakey, how are you?
Very good, Jeremy. How are you?
I'm all right, my friend. Thank you for joining me. Now, I've got quite a strong view on this, but I'm going to start by saying that you said that she, Suella Braverman, had questions to answer before she came to Parliament today. Were you happy with her response? Where are you at with it all now?
Well, look, what I said on Sunday, because this started to come out in newspapers, is that there was clearly information that she needed to come forward with. I am completely satisfied with Suella's explanation. Let's all be completely frank about it. I got done for speeding a couple of years ago. The Archbishop of Canterbury's been done recently. Other people have been. You know, we shouldn't do it, but we do occasionally get caught. Look, Suella took her medicine like we all should. Hopefully has learned a lesson. I certainly hope I've learnt my lesson. And it's a storm in a Westminster-shaped teacup, Jeremy, isn't it?
Well, that's the thing for me. Before I give you my rather strong opinion, the charge is not so much the speeding, and you're right, we do and we shouldn't. We've all fallen foul, I'm sure. Now we'll get letters from people saying, I've never been caught speeding, good for you. Is this about the speeding or the fact that she asked officials within the civil service to look into this for her? Because let's not con anybody. There are celebrities and famous people and royalty and all sorts of people, the length and breadth of this bloody country, who have asked for it to be done privately so they can't give away their information. That's a fact. We know that. So is the charge the speeding or the fact she asked these civil servants to get involved, allegedly?
Well, I think that's what the Labour Party is trying to make of it, aren't they? But the truth is, Jeremy, that, as I understand it, as Suella said, she asked whether it was possible. I mean, that's just a simple inquiry. She didn't ask them to do it. She didn't say, go away and organise this for me. She probably said, a bit like you said, I've heard this is possible. Is it true? And they said, well, we can't help you with it. And she went, fine.
And
she then asked someone else to help her. And then when she couldn't do it, she took her medicine. She took the points, paid the fine. Which like many of us do.
Absolutely, which brings it to what I think, and I'm really keen to see how you respond to this. She claimed when she stood up today this is a Labour Party attempt to distract from the fact that they've got no plan on law and order. For me, it goes beyond that. I think this is certain parts of the media, I think this is certain parts of the Labour Party, and specifically as well parts of the civil service and the Conservative Party that do not like this woman's language when it comes to immigration. And if you got out there, Jake, and you know this in your constituency, if you get out there in England right now and you ask people what one of their major concerns about, it's immigration. And I think this woman, right, and I'm being deadly serious, along with Badenoch, people like that, are quite outspoken. They're the right wing of the party. And I think this is a hatchet job, which leads me to ask you this. You were the chairman of the Conservative Party. Is the civil service deliberately trying again to undermine an elected government and an elected official, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, that's a big allegation, isn't it? But I'll tell you, I'm in Lancashire now. I've been talking to voters today, and they massively care about this issue. And Suella's demonstrating that she is pushing on with it. But we talk about in politics the blob, right? There is basically a civil service view of the world. It's not one I agree with. And we have repeatedly seen when people go against that, the blob moves against them. For goodness sake, we lost possibly the best Prime Minister, certainly the most popular Conservative Prime Minister this century, because he ate a slice of birthday cake.
Yep.
I mean, it is absolutely absurd. They're now trying to kill off Suella because apparently she was speeding. Well, it's not quite so what, because it's a serious offence, but she certainly said that she's sorry about it. This just has to stop. My view actually is, forget what the Labour Party may be trying to do. That is the job of opposition. Fair play to them. My view is that it is well past high time that this government, or any government that comes in after it, led by Rishi Sunak or anyone else, looks to break up the civil service, stop this groupthink, move the jobs out of London, politicise the upper echelons of the civil service, and put business people in there to run our country. I think the civil service was right to run an empire 100 years ago. I think this sort of left-wing blob that it's become now isn't right today. And I don't
so it's
think
quite interesting, isn't it?
delivering what the British people want,
That's
Jeremy.
what I love about you, Jakey, because you said to me, that's quite an allegation to make. I'm totally with you. How the hell did this get out in the public domain? I am not, before people jump up and down, saying it's all right to speed. It isn't. We've all made that mistake. You pay your money, you take your choice, you pay your fine, and that's the way it goes. And she said that. But you would look at this and you would go, the only way this pitiful story has got out is from somebody in the civil service who does not like the fact that immigration, and her rhetoric is quite strong, and she's upset people with words of invasions and all that sort of thing. But I would say that Suella Braverman is actually doing what a majority of people in this country, Jake Berry, want done, which is grab this by the scruff of the neck and try and make sense of it all. And they will do, whoever they are, anything to curtail that. That's how I see it.
Well, Jeremy, you're right. And there's two further points I'd make. Number one, I was on the BBC on Sunday, and a left-wing panellist described her as, quote-unquote, evil, because she's trying to tackle immigration. I don't think that would go unchallenged if I'd have said that about a left-wing point of view. If I'd have said that, Just Stop Oil is evil because it's stopping people getting to work by blocking the motorways, whatever I may think, I don't think it would have been allowed to get away with it. So there is an element of the media in there. I think what the British people might also think, Jeremy, and I don't want to in any way belittle speeding as the serious offence that it is they might say there's a few too many speed cameras around as well. When you've got effectively the whole of London and most major cities 20 miles an hour enforced by speed cameras, I think people might say that actually the war on the motorist has already gone too far, and maybe we should look to turn some of them off.
Interestingly, I tend to agree with you, and I'm not, like you, I'm not demeaning what speeding is, but, she's human. Listen, Jake, always a pleasure, my friend. Loving the wall at the back, the wall effect. Thank you for coming on. Jake Berry, former party chair. Can I point out, panel tonight, the amazing James Bloodworth, who's put a jacket on, which is fantastic, and Benedict Spence. Can I just point out, though, to both of you, Braverman isn't the only politician to be fined for speeding. Sir Keir Starmer, Penny Mordaunt when she wasn't carrying a sword, Robert Jenrick, who of course is in her department, and Tom Tugendhat, who is also in her department. Can I put to you, JB, what I said? There's no doubt that this story has come from a loose-mouthed civil servant yet again. This is a witch hunt. She got caught speeding. She asked if it was possible to do it private because she's the Home Secretary. They say no, she cracks on. This is not what people want to hear about. They want the bloody immigration problem sorted, don't they?
I think it's a storm in a teacup, but I do think the Labour Party is within its rights to ask questions about the issue. So the ministerial code says that there must not be a conflict of interest between politicians' public, duties and their private interests. I think because she didn't actually go on this private speed awareness course, I don't think she's broken the ministerial code. No. But I do think it put the civil servant in a slightly awkward position because they may have felt like they'd be facilitating the breaking of the ministerial code if they helped to book, say, a private thing, her to get private speed awareness course.
Okay,
but I don't think she should be on a private. I think she should face the music like everyone else.
But what I am right in
trust in politics.
There isn't any anyway. I am right in saying, am I not, Benedict, that actually plenty of celebrities and people in the public eye and royal family
politicians shouldn't do that.
I think 1.5 million people people go on speed awareness courses every year. This is a fairly common thing. A lot more people, I think, take points on their licence. As you say, we could go through a long list of people who do it. I think what this shows is, for a start, the fact that we're all talking about the ministerial code.
Instead of a cost of living crisis or a potential war in Europe, for Christ's sake.
The thing actually that struck me was not so much, oh, it's a civil servant that leaks it. Of course it's a civil servant that's leaked it. It's almost always a civil servant that's leaked it. It's that the major news platforms, when interviewing Rishi Sunak at the G7 on the world stage, led with that. And then when he said, does anybody have any actual questions? The next person said, well, yeah, but first I'm going to ask you about this as well. And you think...
That's embarrassing. I agree with that.
No other country would do that.
Yeah, and actually... and
on
it's
yours, self-serving.
On yours, yeah, I agree. Tony Benn, radical left Labour grandee. Tony Benn questioned many years ago. He wrote about the civil service frustrating an elected Labour government's efforts. Now, however, I'm not down the Jacob Rees-Mogg line, but I have to say, we hear this again and again and again. They're not the... What are the civil servants? They're the guardians of what's right and wrong. They are not elected. They have to implement, as I understand it, what politicians give them to and not stand in the way.
What Tony Benn said wasn't sacrosanct, though. I mean, he could be conspiratorial himself about the role of the civil service. Yeah. I think in this case, I think a civil servant, if a politician comes to them and asks that, they're within their rights to question whether that's a legitimate thing to do.
But should they run to the newspapers and say,
perhaps not, and I think the fault is with the journalists as well, because as has just been said, why are they asking this question at summits which should be
a journalist should know
issues?
To say, great, that's not a story. There's a war in Ukraine. The Prime Minister's in Japan.
Somebody told me today she was in number 10 for 3 hours. Everybody's running around thinking she's going to be sacked. Now I'm going to put something else to you. I think Rishi Sunak's in a very difficult position with this, and I'll tell you why. There is no doubt that Braverman is on the right of the party along with Kemi Badenoch, and there is absolutely no doubt, you can smooth it as much as you want, if he did something about this, he's screwed even within his own party, is he not? Is this, Suella, she didn't bring this up, but the rhetoric last week at that Conservative sort of mini-conference when she was... I mean, she's the voice of the right, isn't she?
Yes, and I think, there is the possibility here, we're talking about has she not broken the ministerial code? Will it not be investigated by the independent ethics advisor? And the problem here that I have with all of this is the Prime Minister gives himself the opportunity to hide behind this protocol, which is not actually the law. Let's be very clear here, the ministerial code and whatever the ethics advisor says...
It's a go-to excuse, isn't it?
It is an excuse. You can say, well, this is what's been discovered, so the person has to fall on their own sword. Actually, Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister. He should recognise, as you say, the predicament that he's in and say, OK, she sped. She took points on her licence.
It does look like he's going to do that, though.
But he does strike me as that sort of person.
He needs to be strong and say he should actually, he should have the ethics advisor investigate this, and then whatever the findings are, she broke the law, just go, oh, well, that was very unfortunate. I've spoken to Suella, and now we carry on with the business of government.
We asked, is the civil service deliberately trying to undermine the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, with the government? Yes, 86%. 86% of people. Brian, they fear she will run for PM, and at the moment she's the best the Tories have got. Adrian, why do people in positions think they are above the law? If she kept quiet and paid her fines, it would be old news tomorrow. Andrew, she has, by the way. Andrew, it's the civil servants that should be sacked. Have you seen the state of them in the Home Office? Martin, if you are politically to the right and support Brexit, as a minister, your card is marked, and any minor breach is leaked and storms are assured. I think that's quite interesting. Finally, Henry, she broke the law and she faced the same consequences as anyone else. No special treatment. Honestly, these MPs think they can get away with anything. I'm sick of it. The other side of this coin as well is, apart from what's going on in the world, people don't have any trust in politicians. And when they're fed through the media from the civil service, is another kick. People are going, hold on a minute, I can't afford to pay for my food bill this week.
Yeah, I mean, the optics of it are quite bad, because I don't think she should have even considered that as an option, because you should take your part. But we've never not all tried to get special treatment where we get our own speed awareness course on our own, away from everyone else. Celebrities might do that.
Speak for yourself.
But politicians politicians should not be doing that.
Can I tell you a very funny story which nobody's going to laugh at? It's absolutely bloody true. And Benedict knows that. So years and years ago, in another life, I was going to Liverpool. I don't know why I've done that accent, to interview a lady. And she wasn't ready. So they took me to a local hotel, and at that point I was smoking. So I said, I'm going to go outside for a cigarette. And there was a little hut. And as I walked round, there was a sign saying, speed awareness course today at whatever the hotel was. And please don't sue me. And when I came round the corner, and there was Darren Brown. Do you know who Darren Brown is?
Yes.
So I said, hello, Darren. He said, hello, Jez. He said, I had a cigarette. And I said, why are you here? He said, I'm here for the speed awareness course. And really quickly, without anything at all, I just went, I thought you'd have known they'd have been there. And he's never spoken to me since. He left the room.
He did a disappearing act.
He did a disappearing act, yeah.